Welcome back to CY8FC. This is Season 7. We are finally in the Premier League. We've spent 6 seasons climbing from the mud of the 6th Division, the 1-minute red card in the National League, the pure domination in League 1 and League 2, and the warfare of the Championship. Now we are here, the greatest league in the world. But the moment we arrived, everything changed. This isn't the lower leagues we dominated anymore. Every team in this league is a fortress. Every single player is a titan. Every manager is a tactician. Every mistake is punished. Initially, I had the arrogance to think we could win the title in our first year. I thought we might end this series early. But within weeks, that dream was shattered. Manchester City, Liverpool, Arsenal. They aren't just teams. They are the attack of titans. So I changed my goal for this season. Forget the trophy. Survive, stay in the middle. Don't go back to the mud. And above all, we have unfinished business. We had to beat the man who betrayed us. He said he didn't want to wait. He said we weren't ready, and now we are here in the Premier League to face him. Before the season even began, our captain made his decision. Ter Stegen announced his retirement, one final season. Before returning to the beach with Duncan Bird, one last mission: keep us alive. Then came the first big test of the transfer window. I received an offer from River Plate. They wanted our Argentine wonder kid, Oscar Heredia. They wanted the next Messi. He is only 18 years old and already has a 73 overall. River Plate offered me peanuts. They must think I'm running a charity. But then I looked at our squad depth. Our bench was paper thin. Once one of our starters gets injured or suspended, we are finished. That money could have bought us the depth we desperately need. But then, Heredia himself walked into my office. He didn't ask for a higher wage. He didn't ask for a move to a bigger club. He told me he wanted to stay here. He wants to win the Premier League with us. You don't trade a diamond for 3 pieces of coal. I rejected the offer. Depth can be bought later. But a next Messi, you only find that once in a lifetime. Then, the real Messi stepped up and brought me good news. While Ronaldo provided the gold to build our foundation in the early season, our new youth academy manager, Lionel Messi, decided to follow his footsteps. Another $10 million investment. But this money isn't for superstars. It was for the future. We put $5 million into world-class academy upgrades and used the rest to find our depth. First, Tomasz Kaczmarek, a 17-year-old Polish center-back. He is our backup player. Second, Mohamed Pelletier, a 17-year-old French midfield engine from Monaco. They're calling him the Pogba Regen. Then the season started, and the Premier League showed us no mercy. Game 1 against Leeds United, a tough start. 1-1 draw. Game 2 against Fulham. Draw. Then, the collapse. 4 games, 4 defeats. Forest, Spurs, West Ham, Brentford. Relegation was already knocking until Game 7, our first win of the season against Ipswich Town, a 4-1 win, finally a spark. But then Jack Grealish and Everton reminded us who we are. Jack Grealish scores a hat-trick. He became the 4th man to score a hat-trick against us, joining the Hall of Fame of players who have humbled us. The goalkeeper is so good that he saved Z Ratto's penalties in a row. Or else Z Ratto can score a hat-trick already. The pressure was getting to everyone. Then came the date marked in red, Bournemouth Traitors Derby, the revenge game against Thomas Krog. But the coward didn't even start. He sat on the bench, watching his team dismantle us. Zerato tried his best but still cannot get past the keeper. Seeing him smile on that bench while we struggled, that hurt more than the relegation zone. The fans were losing it. One fan even swore that he wouldn't cut his hair until CY8FC hit a 5-game win streak. At this rate, he's going to look like a wizard by Season 8. But then, something changed. Zerato, he heard the critics. He heard the whispers that he couldn't handle the Prem. A hat-trick against Newcastle. A 2-1 victory against Aston Villa. A 2-0 win against Manchester United, the first Big Six we beat. For a moment, the 3-win streak gave us hope. The fans started looking at scissors. But in this league, hope is a dangerous thing. By Game 12, Zerato was leading the Golden Boot race, Haaland chasing him. Game 13 took us to Burnley, a rainy, miserable afternoon. We fought for every inch but came away with a 2-2 to draw. The fans' dream of a 5-win streak was dead. He'd have to wait longer. But we didn't stay down. Game 14 against Crystal Palace was a classic. A 3-2 thriller where Zerato secured another hat-trick. I could see it in their eyes. My players were finally adapting. The pace of the league didn't scare them anymore. I told the press, now it's our time. In the next game, we are going to face the strongest club in the world, Manchester City. They were undefeated this season. Zerato scored a penalty early, and for 20 minutes, the stadium believed in miracles, but they were too strong. A 2-1 loss. Then came Game 16 against Chelsea. It wasn't a football match. It was a robbery. The refereeing was so atrocious that almost my entire squad ended up with yellow cards. We were being targeted. After the game, the locker room was silent, but the parking lot wasn't. The boss was so furious he actually shattered the referee's car windshield. A $120,000 fine followed instantly. When Ronaldo is angry, everyone pays. With the standard rising, I had to say a painful goodbye. Nicholas Owen, our original number 8, wasn't getting the minutes he deserved. I respected his legacy and sold him to Luton Town so he could keep playing. Now, only Oliver Cotton and Futcher remain from the Season 1 mud. They are the souls of this club, even if they spend their days on the bench. The schedule didn't get any kinder. Game 17 against Liverpool. Zerato was a man possessed. Scoring a poker. But our defense was a sieve. Even with 4 goals from the best striker in England, we couldn't equalize. Game 18 against Arsenal. They did what they do best, suffocated us. A 2-1 loss. Game 19 against Brighton. A frantic 2-2 draw. By mid-season, the table was a battlefield. We sat in 13th place with only 20 points, 5 wins, 5 draws and 9 losses. We were 4 points behind Bournemouth. Every time we slipped, the cameras cut to Krog, smiling, watching, waiting for us to fail. Manchester City were dominating without a single loss, while Arsenal were busy bottling the league like usual. Krog thought he made the right choice. He thought we were just guests in this league, but he didn't know what was coming next. Then everything exploded. This is the part the cameras didn't see. The civil war of CY8FC, our 2 biggest stars. The 2 men who stood side by side. From the mud of the 6th Division to the Premier League, we're at war. Spencer Kinder, our number 8, finally snapped. He didn't just argue, he attacked. He called Z Ratto a dictator. He accused him of being a black hole, a selfish ego that sucks the life out of the team, just to feed his own glory. And looking at Kinder's stats, he was right. His ratings had plummeted because Z Ratto refused to pass. Kinder was playing for the badge. Z Ratto was playing for the golden boot. Z Ratto's response was cold.
I am the striker. I score, that's my job. You are the playmaker. You give me the ball, do yours.
The quarrel was so massive that not even Ter Stegen could stop the flames. They refused to play together. They refused to speak. Imagine that. The duo that brought us to the top, now refusing to share the same grass. As the manager, I was backed into a corner. You can't run a Premier League club with a divided heart. A divided team is a dead team, so I made the hardest decision of my career. Harder than benching Messi. I had no choice. This isn't a playground. This is the Premier League. So I made the call. One of them has to go. I looked at the stats, and I looked at the VIP box where the boss was watching. The choice became cold and clear. I decided to sell Spencer Kinder. Because in football, you can replace a playmaker, but you can't replace goals. I looked at Z Ratto. He has reached 88 overall. He is the best in the business. He is world-class, standing shoulder to shoulder with the top strikers of Europe like Haaland and Mbappé. But more importantly, he is Ronaldo's favorite. You don't sell the man destined for the Ballon d'Or to settle a dressing room argument. This was the hardest goodbye yet. Kinder wasn't just another player. He was our number 8. He was the man who represented me on the pitch since season 1. We climbed the entire English football pyramid together. For the first time in 7 seasons, the number 8 shirt is vacant. The Civil War has ended with a one-way ticket to Germany. Spencer Kinder has left for Stuttgart, far enough away that he won't have to hear the roar of the CR7 stadium. Every time Z Ratto scores, it was a ruthless move. But the Kings dictate the terms here. After the Kinder decision, Ronaldo didn't say much. He just nodded. That was enough in this club. His silence means approval. We rebuilt the midfield instantly. We brought in Sver Nypan, the 25-year-old Norwegian midfielder. He's technical, he's tireless, and he's exactly the kind of player who doesn't mind doing the dirty work so the superstars can shine. With the Portuguese connection growing, I had one more name on my list. To truly complete the revolution, Bernardo Silva. I wanted his intelligence and his magic to link our midfield to the attack. But before I could even pick up the phone, the news broke. Bernardo has announced his retirement. It's a reminder that while our wonder kids are just starting, the legends who define this era are fading away. I missed my chance to bring him home, but I couldn't dwell on it, because the boss had another brother in mind. Manchester United captain Bruno Fernandes has signed for CY8FC. He's 37 but still with a 80 overall. We need his experience in the Premier League. He is taking over the number 8 shirt. Bruno wasn't there to be Z Ratto's friend. He was there to be his general. He was there to guide Z Ratto and Myra on the pitch. If Z Ratto wants the ball, he'll get it. But he'll have to answer to Bruno if he wastes it. The locker room toxicity is dead. But football doesn't reward decisions instantly. The second half of the season started like a nightmare. A 3-game losing streak against Leeds, Fulham, and Forest. We dropped to 16th place, just 1 point above the relegation zone. Every time we conceded, every time a pass went astray, the same question haunted me. Did I make a mistake? Bruno and Nypan were struggling to adapt to our tactics, and the midfield looked like a puzzle with missing pieces. We couldn't buy a win, drawing and losing against Spurs, West Ham, and Brentford. Our only salvation was a scrappy win against bottom-of-the-table Ipswich. Then came the second Traitors Derby. Bournemouth smashed us 5-1. It was a defensive disaster. I'm convinced Thomas Krog was slipping money to his teammates under the table. Next, against Newcastle, Woltemade smashed a hat-trick past us in the first half alone. But Zerato fought back with a hat-trick of his own to try and equalize the game. And then came Manchester United. Manchester United put for past us in revenge for stealing their former captain. But Zerato saved us again with poker. That moment, I realized we might have a Sunday League defense, but we have a Ballon d'Or striker. Then goes Burnley. We secured a 2-1 win. Next, we beat Crystal Palace in a goal fest. A ridiculous own goal. A Zerato hat-trick. Two beauties from Ismail Dominguez, really unusual for a defender. And then, Manchester City, the ultimate test at our home. We held them to a draw. For a moment, the stadium felt like it belonged in the top four. But Chelsea and João Pedro with yet another hat-trick against us woke us up. While they celebrated a 4-2 win, Man City was officially crowned Premier League champions. Against Arsenal, we scored in the first minute. But our defense decided to take the rest of the game off. Victor Jaquirs hammered us with a hat-trick. Leading to a 4-3 loss. It all came down to the final day. Brighton, win or everything is over. With the weight of the entire 8-season project on their shoulders, the boys delivered a 3-2 victory. We survived. We finished the season in 14th position, 9 wins, 11 draws and 18 loses. If you look at our goals scored, we belong in the top 5. If you look at our goals conceded, we belong in the National League. We don't have a defense, we have a weapon. We are not balanced. We are officially the glass cannon of England. This season marks the end of an era. Ter Stegen has officially played his last game. At 40 years old, the German Wall finished the season without a single injury. Fulfilling his promise to Duncan Bird, he is heading back to Barcelona to become a youth manager, hoping to find the next generation of La Masia talent. Thank you, Captain. You saved us when we were drowning in the championship, but the headline that is shaking the world, Zerato. In a league full of super strikers like Holland, Jaquirs, and Isak, our boy did the impossible. Zerato is the Premier League Golden Boot winner, outscoring Erling Haaland by 5 goals. Seeing him stand on that stage, lifting the Golden Boot, his dream has finally come true. He is now the greatest striker in England. But we have the best striker in the world and the worst defense in the league. This was our worst season in terms of struggle, but our most legendary in terms of survival. Mbappé, the dictator, actually won the Ballon d'Or with Real Madrid. He led Madrid to win the champion against Arsenal in the Champions League final. Season 8 is the final chapter. The priority is a world-class goalkeeper. We are coming for the title, we are coming for Krog, and we are coming for everything. See you in the finale.